Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I apologize ahead of time for Cooper in the background because he is off the chains at the moment, being in the cage. Today we're going to be talking about toxic family members. I know there's probably a lot of you out there who go through daily things where your parents, or it can be your aunt, your uncle, grandparent, it can be anybody in your family who is a very bad narcissist, or it can be just how they talk to you verbally, or it can be how their actions are towards you. I personally went through a lot of toxic things in my life as a child growing up into my early 20s. I left a very toxic environment myself just in 2020 of November. It wasn't the easiest choice to make, but it was the best one I had to make for myself. It was either I completely lost myself and I just tossed aside my happiness, or I can regain all of that for myself and move on with my life and be happy for me and do things that were necessary for me. Having a very toxic family can be very damaging to your mental health. It can damage you internally to where you don't trust a single soul in your life, that to the point that you won't let anybody in, that you can accept anybody. And that's not the best way you want to live your life. You want to live your life with happiness, and you want to live your life with your own energy and your own vibe, and how you portray how you feel. You don't want to be stuck in a situation where you're having to hide how you feel or not speak your mind. Not being able to speak your mind is probably one of the worst things in this world. Not being able to speak how you feel can be really damaging as well. If you are not allowed to say your opinion, whether it can be good or bad, and that just progresses, then there are other ways to get around that. One of them can be opening up to somebody you trust, someone you consider family, or just anyone that you are close to in general. Sorry for the movement when the dogs walk past. At any point that you feel like that you can't trust your own family, whether they are choosing, a boyfriend, say your mother is choosing a boyfriend or a husband over you, or if your dad is doing the same thing, just completely reversed, then that's not something that you should have to sit around and deal with. If you are, say you're 15, 16, and you're stuck going through the same thing that I went through when I was that age, then that's not the way to live. If you are just stuck in general, you need to talk to somebody that you trust, or get away even for a little while. Getting away from a very toxic environment can be very helpful. That's what I did. My mother pretty much chose her husband over her kids. It happened time and time again in a same continuous toxic cycle that was never going to break. Even though I have told her over and over again that you can't live your life that way. And I tried telling her that he doesn't love her or her kids, that he wanted us booted out pretty much since he moved in with us back in the summer of 2019. Thankfully, my brother was the first one to get out. He was the first one to see what was going on before I did. So I'm very proud of him. As for myself, I did not see the full bigger picture until the end of 2019 into 2020. I was not really allowed to do really anything. I always had to be be home at a certain time, even before work in the morning. Even, I didn't have a car. I still don't. But I started hanging out with this guy I used to work with, and he and his family were like family to me, and they accepted me as one of their own ever since day one. And as the months progressed, 2 to 3 months, I was hanging out with him and his family all the time, and I don't know still to this day if that's something that my mother accepted or not. I don't know if it's something she just didn't like. I will never know the answer. So in January of last year was when I got with my ex, and I actually moved out for 2 weeks because I just could not take my mother's husband anymore, him and his narcissistic behavior. There were so many red flags I saw, and my brother, and we both saw the same thing. We tried telling my mother over and over again that it wasn't the best choice for her to go back, but she just wouldn't listen to either one of us. It was very hard because having to sit there and watch her go through the same cycle every single time, it wasn't healthy. And she would leave him. It'd be about a week before he would come crawling back with his tears and his apologies and just everything else that he would say, really, to reel her back in and think, maybe I'll give him one more chance. Well, when I was with my ex before I moved out a second time in March, that's pretty much what she did, besides everything that had happened. Before I left, officially November last year, I found out from an inside source that she was going to give him another chance, even though he was going through her phone and reading private messages between her and I. And something that was discussed was something that should not have been seen, but from his own eyes, but he saw it anyway. And he quoted almost word for word a message I said to her. And he wanted to still lie and say that he never went through her phone. How can you not almost quote word for word what someone said, not go through their phone? Beats the hell out of me. But I found out from an inside source that she was going to give him one last chance, and I was beyond furious. I wasn't happy with it. And she failed to see that. She failed to consider my feelings. She failed to consider how my brain wanted to process that information. She didn't know that I knew, and I wasn't about to let her know that I knew that. So I kept that part to myself. I was beyond furious with her, but I didn't speak on it. And then the time came when one morning before work, this was after the breakup with my ex of last year. This was after everything that I went through with him. I moved back in August. We broke up on the 5th. Sorry about that. Broke up on the 5th. I moved back in because she let me come back. He, on the other hand, said no. I came back anyway. He wasn't happy with it. And he started giving me his normal daily BS. Not even 2 days after I came back. But moving forward. One morning before work, she decided that she was going to have me step outside with her. And I did. And she had the folded up divorce papers in her hand and took a handheld torch to them and burned them right in front of my face. My jaw just dropped to the ground, and I said, "What are you doing?" And she said, "It's not going to happen. Our counselor said we're meant to be together." So I finally had enough. Something in me snapped that morning. I had had enough. I'm sorry. I finally had enough of the daily routine cycle of what I was already stuck living with. And I'm so glad I got out, because I'm able to live my life. I'm able to be me. I'm able to live how I want to and not have to hear criticism on how I do things. Now, there's also a point in time where my mother had always said that she had always supported how I thought about things, how I did things, never judged me, and things like that. But what everyone fails to see is that there were things happening behind closed doors that everyone else saw. But at the same time, there are certain facts that I said that are true, and she calls me a liar to this day, says I'm lying, and she automatically didn't believe about my sexuality, which, again, that's not necessarily my problem to deal with. It's her own to sort out. I don't like how things ended. I don't. But it was either sacrifice my happiness and stay by her side while she continued to live with him, or I either get out and move in with my sister, her and her boyfriend who took me in, and live my life the way I wanted to. It was one of the two, and I chose my own happiness, and she got mad at me, which I can't fix that. So, to sum up all of what I've talked about in this one, to sum it up, don't live by how someone tells you how to live. If it's a parent, if they're trying to help, accept their help and take the criticism as you go. But if it gets to the point where they're trying to control your every move and how you live your life, it can be a parent, it can be anybody who tries to tell you what to do, brush it off your shoulder and live life how you want to live it, and live with happiness, and don't let anybody else tell you how to live that differently, because if you do and you continue to take that, it's going to bring you down so far you won't know how to get back up. I had to learn the hard way about a lot of things. And the one thing that I've learned is that if you have a support system who is always there for you, then you really have nothing to worry about. That's all I've got for today. See you guys later.